By betraying yourself, you lose everything. Soren Kierkegaard. Before we begin, here's a small ritual. Write in the comments one word that accurately describes your current state. Sign it, and let's get started. A person stands in front of a mirror, but not the kind that reflects the face. This mirror reveals the shadow. Everything denied, hidden, rejected. Anger, fear, jealousy, weakness. The shadow is like a silent twin, always present, always watching. Einstein once said that when you betray yourself, you split in two. The shadow is left without its master, and when the master disappears, the shadow takes the reins. People love to think they are in control. They tidy up their world, keep order, polish the surface. But underneath, the shadow waits. It whispers in the dark corners of the mind. The more you push it away, the stronger it becomes. The more you deny it, the louder it knocks. A man walks through life pretending he has no rage, no envy, no sorrow. He smiles, he works, he loves, or so he thinks. But when night falls, the mask slips. In dreams, in sudden reactions, in moments of weakness, the shadow steps forward. It takes over in a flash, making him say things he regrets, do things he cannot explain. The shadow is not evil. It is the part of the self that was not allowed to live. The child told to be strong hides his tears. The girl told to be nice swallows her anger. The boy taught to win at all costs buries his fear. And yet, these buried parts never die. They wait. They grow teeth in the dark. Meeting the shadow is terrifying. It feels like facing a stranger inside your own skin. But without this meeting, a person is incomplete. One who does not know his darkness will be ruled by it. The one who denies envy will be eaten by resentment. The one who rejects fear will live as its prisoner. The one who despises weakness will fall apart when life tests his strength. The first step is recognition. To say, yes, I am angry, I am jealous, I am afraid. Not to act on it blindly, not to let it lead, but to know it, to own it. The shadow shrinks not when it is crushed, but when it is embraced. Light does not kill the dark. It gives it shape. It gives it a name. The paradox is simple. The more you run, the more it chases. The more you welcome, the more it softens. The shadow longs not to destroy, but to belong. It waits to be seen, to be touched, to be spoken to. It carries the gold of hidden strength, of creativity, of passion. To reject it is to lose the treasures of the soul. Imagine a man who finally turns to his anger and says, "I see you." Suddenly the anger shifts. It becomes fuel, fire, courage. Imagine a woman who meets her fear and whispers, "I hear you." Fear softens, becomes alertness, wisdom. Imagine a person who takes envy by the hand and says, "Let us walk together." Envy becomes inspiration, a guide toward hidden desires. Without this work, a person is a puppet, pulled by strings he pretends do not exist, laughing when he wants to cry, nodding when he wants to scream, working when he wants to run. The shadow pulls, the mask cracks, the soul suffers. The journey begins in the mirror, not the mirror of the face, but the mirror of the soul. The one who dares to look finds the missing half. The one who denies it stays broken, searching for completion in all the wrong places. The shadow is the door. Behind it is not ruin, but rebirth. One who steps through becomes whole. The one who stays outside will forever wander, asking why life feels empty, why success tastes bitter, why love slips away. The answer is waiting in the dark. The conclusion is clear. One who does not face the shadow becomes its puppet, but the one who meets it becomes free. A person clings to control like a drowning man clings to driftwood. He believes that if he plans well, works hard, stays vigilant, life will obey. The truth is more brutal. Life bends to no one. Control is a delicate lie we tell ourselves to quiet the storm inside. He makes schedules, writes lists, builds walls. He locks emotions in iron boxes, afraid they will spill and ruin everything. But control cracks. Always. The body trembles when panic strikes. The voice shakes when anger explodes. The heart races when love, unexpected and wild, walks in uninvited. Underneath the polished surface, the beast paces. It waits for one moment of weakness, a small betrayal, a sharp word, a broken promise. Then it bursts free, dragging everything down like a house of cards. The person who believes in control stands among the ruins, whispering, "This was not supposed to happen." The craving for control is born from fear of pain, of loss, of chaos. The child learns early that control means safety. Keep the room clean, get good grades, smile at the right time, and maybe, just maybe, the world will not hurt. But the world does not play by these rules, and so the adult lives in quiet terror, tightening his grip, afraid to blink. He controls his image, the right clothes, the right smile, the perfect life on display. But at night alone, the cracks widen, the mask slips. He wonders why the loneliness feels so heavy, why the hunger never ends, why the laughter in the room tastes hollow. Control starves the soul. It kills surprise, flattens passion, drains joy. A woman controls her feelings, keeps her love neat, her anger hidden, her desires trimmed to fit the frame. She becomes a masterpiece of restraint. But inside, a wildness beats its wings against the cage. The cost of control is life itself. The price is numbness. The paradox is brutal. The more you grip, the more you lose. The river you try to dam will always find a way. The feelings you suppress will roar back louder. The people you try to hold will pull away. Control is a leash tied around your own throat. But surrender is not collapse. It is not weakness. It is the art of soft hands, open eyes, steady breath. It is the courage to stand in the storm and whisper, "Let it come." It is the grace to watch plans shatter and still remain whole. The one who surrenders does not drift aimlessly. He learns to dance with chaos. He trusts his feet, his instincts, his heart. He knows that pain will come, but he does not flinch. He knows that love will arrive without a script, and he does not panic. He lives not above the storm, but within it, unshaken. True power is not in domination, but in alignment. The surfer does not command the wave. The dancer does not order the music. The lover does not own the beloved. They move together, with respect, with awareness, with surrender. A man who surrenders learns the language of life. He knows when to act and when to wait. He feels when to hold and when to release. He understands that the heart has seasons, that the soul has tides, that the mind cannot control what it was never meant to rule. The illusion of control destroys relationships. It poisons love, corrodes friendship, turns leadership into tyranny. The boss who micromanages loses the loyalty of his team. The partner who clings strangles the connection. The parent who overprotects raises a child trembling with anxiety. And yet, letting go feels like death. It feels like stepping off a cliff with no parachute. It feels like tearing out the floor beneath your feet. But on the other side is flight, is freedom, is peace. Imagine a woman who stops trying to control love. She softens, she laughs, she forgives. And love, once choked, blossoms. Imagine a man who releases the grip on his image. He breathes, he relaxes. He discovers parts of himself he buried under perfection. Imagine a leader who trusts his people. Creativity sparks, energy flows, trust deepens. Control is a prison with golden bars. The world applauds the controlled person. But inside, the soul withers. Surrender shatters the cage. It brings color back to life. The conclusion is sharp. Power does not belong to the one who clenches his fists. It belongs to the one who opens his hands. Since childhood, a person learns to wear masks. First, to survive. Later, to be loved. At some point, the mask stops being a tool and becomes the face itself. The strong one, the funny one, the rebel, the perfect one. Each mask glued so tightly it leaves no room for breath. He steps into a room and becomes who they need. The smiling friend, the competent worker, the charming lover. But behind the smile is a tired face. Behind the competence is fear. Behind the charm is hunger. For rest, for truth, for something real. The mask wins applause. People admire the image, not the soul. He hears praise and feels empty. She gets love and feels unseen. They stand in the spotlight, but inside, they are starving. Masks feed the crowd, but they starve the wearer. A man plays strong. He carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, never complains, never cries. But at night, his chest tightens. He wonders how long he can keep this up. He fears that if he stops, the world will crumble. The truth is, the world can survive his softness. It is his own heart that cannot survive his hardness. A woman plays the good girl. She smiles when she wants to scream. She agrees when she wants to say no. She carries everyone's burdens, forgetting her own. And slowly, her light dims. Not because the world stole it, but because she hid it behind the mask. The rebel too wears a mask. He says he does not care, that nothing touches him. But inside, he is raw. The mask of indifference is stitched from wounds. Behind every loud laugh is an old sorrow. Behind every cold smirk is a silent prayer for connection. The paradox is cruel. The more you perfect the mask, the lonelier you become. People fall in love with the role, not the human. They applaud the performance, but no one holds the actor. He stands ovation after ovation, and when the curtain falls, no one waits backstage. But here is the raw edge of truth. The moment the mask cracks, life rushes in. The moment you say, "I am tired," someone sees you. The moment you confess, "I am scared," the walls soften. The moment you whisper, "I need help," the world leans closer. The breaking of the mask is not collapse. It is emergence. It is not weakness. It is the first taste of freedom. The actor steps off the stage and becomes human again. He touches his own skin and remembers what it feels like to be alive. Yet tearing off the mask feels like death. It feels like betrayal of the image, of the expectations, of the identity you built. You wonder who you are without it. You fear you will be nothing. But behind the mask is not nothing. Behind the mask is everything you have buried. Imagine a man who dares to put down the armor. His shoulders drop. His breath deepens. For the first time, he tastes rest. Imagine a woman who lets her anger rise. She speaks the truth. She feels fire instead of swallowing it. Imagine the rebel who says, "I care." Suddenly the world moves toward him, not away. The cost of the mask is life. The reward of its fall is aliveness. You cannot touch joy through a mask. You cannot feel love in armor. You cannot taste freedom while pretending. And here's the most brutal twist. The world longs for the real you. It is starving for your cracks, your mess, your unfiltered laughter, your honest tears. The mask makes you impressive. The naked face makes you unforgettable. The moment you drop the act, something strange happens. You stop performing, and they start listening. You stop entertaining, and they start leaning in. You stop managing, and they start trusting. The world does not need another perfect person. It needs someone who can stand in their truth and say, "Here I am, broken, beautiful, real." The conclusion cuts deep. Freedom begins where the mask ends. Pain comes without warning. It walks into the room uninvited and sits at your table. It does not knock. It does not wait for permission. One moment you are fine. The next moment you are on your knees, gasping, wondering what just broke inside you. Pain is the most honest visitor you will ever meet. It does not pretend. It does not wear a mask. It does not play by your rules. And this is why people run. They build walls. They swallow pills. They scroll endlessly. They drink. They laugh too loudly. They keep busy. Anything to drown out the knock at the door. But pain waits. It has all the time in the world. Pain is not the enemy. It is the messenger. It arrives with a letter sealed in blood. The letter says, "Look here. Something inside you needs attention." Maybe it is a wound you forgot. Maybe it is a truth you buried. Maybe it is a life you are pretending not to want. Pain does not hurt you out of cruelty. It hurts you to wake you up. A man walks through life convinced he is strong because he feels nothing. He takes pride in his numbness. But numbness is not strength. It is a scar over a wound that never healed. One day, life cuts deeper. The scar rips open, and all the pain he refused to feel comes rushing out at once. A woman carries the pain of a broken heart. She tells herself she is over it. She dates, she laughs, she posts pictures, she says she is fine. But at night, when the noise fades, pain curls up beside her. It whispers, "I am still here." No amount of distraction can silence what the heart remembers. Pain teaches. It teaches humility. It reminds you that you are human, breakable, tender. It teaches empathy. Until you have bled, you cannot understand another's wound. It teaches presence. When pain hits, the future disappears. The past dissolves. Only now remains, raw, electric, unbearable. The paradox is this: what you resist persists. The pain you avoid owns you. The pain you face transforms you. Go toward the ache, and it softens. Run from it, and it sharpens its teeth. Imagine a person who stops running. They sit down with their pain. They listen, and slowly they understand. The pain was never the enemy. The enemy was the silence, the pretending, the running. The pain was only trying to bring them home. There is no awakening without the night. There is no strength without the breaking. Muscles grow by tearing. Hearts expand by shattering. Souls awaken by burning. To try to bypass pain is to stay asleep in a half-life. Parents try to shield their children from pain. Lovers try to protect each other. Friends try to rescue. But pain belongs to each of us. It is a birthright. It is a private teacher. No one can take your lessons for you. Grief carves a hollow inside the chest. But into that hollow, new life can pour. Betrayal shreds the heart. But from those torn edges, fierce clarity can rise. Failure crushes the ego. But in the ruins, the real self can be found. The stories we tell about pain matter. If you tell yourself, "This should not be happening," you double the pain. If you tell yourself, "I will never recover," you chain yourself to the wound. But if you whisper, "This is my teacher," something changes. You stand a little taller. You breathe a little deeper. You meet the moment with less resistance. Pain humbles the proud. It softens the hard. It wakes the numb. It deepens the shallow. And above all, it strips away the unnecessary. When you are in pain, you do not care about status, appearance, petty worries. You care about what is real, about who is there, about what matters. Imagine a world where pain was not hidden, where people said, "Today I am broken," and others said, "Me too." Imagine a culture where tears were sacred, not shameful. Imagine a life where you did not have to pretend you were fine, that life is closer than you think. It starts with one person daring to be honest. Pain breaks you open, but it also breaks you free. Free from illusions, from roles, from lies. It takes you to the edge and says, "Now choose. Will you hide or will you rise?" The sharpest truth of all is this: pain is not here to punish. It is here to purify. It burns away what is false. It leaves behind only what cannot be taken. The conclusion is undeniable. Pain is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a deeper one. Everyone craves power, the power to be seen, to be heard, to be obeyed. But the hardest, rarest, and most terrifying power is power over oneself. To master your own heart, your own mind, your own hungers. That is the throne most people never dare to sit on. A man can conquer nations, build empires, command armies, but if he cannot face his own rage, he is a slave. A woman can build a perfect life, raise a family, run a business, but if she cannot stand in the storm of her own grief, she is still in chains. Power without self-mastery is a house built on sand. The one who has power over himself walks differently. He does not flinch when insulted. He does not crumble when adored. He moves through the world with a quiet center, unshaken by praise or blame. He knows who he is, even when the world forgets. But this power comes at a price. The price is blood. The price is fire. The price is the death of old selves, old patterns, old addictions. You do not wake up one day and own yourself. You earn it, one scar at a time. A man faces his jealousy, not by pretending it is not there, but by staring it in the eye. He learns its language. He understands its roots. He turns envy into fuel, into ambition sharpened by wisdom. A woman faces her fear, not by masking it with strength, but by letting it wash over her. She learns its rhythm, its triggers, its shape. She lets fear teach her caution without stealing her courage. The battlefield is inside. The enemies wear familiar faces, old wounds, inherited beliefs, reflexive reactions. Every time you choose presence over panic, restraint over impulse, awareness over blindness, you take back a piece of your kingdom. But beware, control is not the same as mastery. Control is tight fists, clenched jaw, white-knuckled restraint. Mastery is open hands, relaxed shoulders, deep breath. Control is fear dressed up as strength. Mastery is strength softened by surrender. A man who controls his anger bites his tongue, clenches his fists, walks away. But inside, the storm rages. A man who has mastered his anger lets it rise, watches it, listens, learns. And then, when the moment is right, he speaks with the fire of truth, not the poison of resentment. A woman who controls her pain distracts herself, forces a smile, keeps busy. A woman who has mastered her pain feels it fully, honors it, lets it carve her open, and then she walks forward, lighter, freer, more whole. The paradox of power is this: the more you dominate yourself, the weaker you become. The more you befriend yourself, the stronger you grow. Power over oneself is not about crushing desire. It is about channeling it. Not about silencing fear, but dancing with it. Not about killing the ego, but putting it in its rightful place, as a servant, not a master. Imagine a man who knows his worth without proving it. He does not need to win every argument, seduce every admirer, collect every trophy. He stands tall in his own skin. He moves with the ease of someone who has nothing to prove. Imagine a woman who trusts her intuition without apology. She does not explain herself to those who cannot hear her. She does not shrink to make others comfortable. She moves like a river, soft, relentless, unstoppable. This kind of power is magnetic. People feel it without knowing why. They trust it, they follow it, they are drawn to it. It is not loud, not flashy, not brittle. It is quiet, deep, unshakable. But here's the sharp edge. To reach this power, you must first lose. Lose your illusions. Lose your need to control how others see you. Lose the addiction to praise. Lose the comfort of old wounds. And in that losing, you find the one thing the world cannot give or take: yourself. True mastery is not about never falling. It is about rising cleaner each time you fall. It is about meeting your own eyes in the mirror after failure and saying, "I am still here." The world teaches domination, win, conquer, control, but the soul teaches integration, listen, embrace, transform. A leader who has not mastered himself becomes a tyrant. A lover who has not mastered herself becomes a prisoner. A parent who has not mastered his wounds passes them to his children. Self-mastery is not a luxury, it is a responsibility. And yet most people will spend their lives looking outward, seeking power over others, over circumstances, over fate. Few will turn inward and face the real battle. Fewer still will walk through that fire and come out forged. Imagine a world where people ruled themselves before they ruled others, where leaders healed their own wounds before taking the throne, where lovers faced their own shadows before reaching for another's hand. That world would be unrecognizable. That world would be worth living in. This power is quiet. It does not parade itself. It does not roar. It whispers in the way you hold your own gaze, in the way you forgive yourself, in the way you rise after breaking. The highest throne is inside. The only crown worth wearing is the one you place on your own head. And the only kingdom worth ruling is the one within. The conclusion is fierce. Power over others fades. Power over oneself endures. Liberation does not come with fireworks. It comes in a quiet moment when the weight on your chest suddenly lifts. It comes when you stop fighting the river and let it carry you. It comes when you realize that the chains around your ankles were made of paper all along. Most people do not want freedom. They want comfort. They want predictability. They want a life wrapped in soft lies, cushioned by routine. Freedom terrifies them because it demands responsibility. It demands truth. It demands the death of every excuse. A man lives in a cage, but he decorates it beautifully. He hangs awards on the walls, fills the space with noise, calls it a home. He tells himself that safety is worth the price. But at night, when the lights go out, he feels the bars pressing into his skin. He remembers the dreams he buried, the words he swallowed, the fire he dimmed. A woman carries invisible chains. They are made of expectations, obligations, silent agreements she never signed but always obeyed. She smiles when she wants to scream. She stays when she wants to leave. She gives when she is empty. One day, she looks in the mirror and no longer recognizes the face staring back. Liberation begins with rebellion, not the kind that burns cities, but the kind that burns illusions. You stop pretending you are fine. You stop nodding when you want to shake your head. You stop apologizing for your existence. You become dangerous, not to others, but to the lies that have ruled your life. But rebellion alone is not enough. Rage without direction consumes itself. You need surrender. You need to kneel, not before another, but before truth. You need to say, I will no longer betray myself. Liberation means breaking the addiction to control. It means letting life be messy, unpredictable, wild. It means falling in love without a script. It means failing and letting it carve you into something humbler, fiercer, freer. Imagine a man who stops proving his worth. He lets the world misjudge him. He lets them gossip, doubt, misunderstand. And in that space, he discovers a deeper kind of power. The power to belong to himself. Imagine a woman who stops waiting for permission. She speaks, she moves, she dares, without shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. She dances in her own storm. She becomes a force, not a decoration. But here is the brutal truth. Freedom will cost you everything that is not real. It will cost you approval. It will cost you belonging to the wrong tribe. It will cost you comfort built on lies. And yes, it will cost you certainty. But what you gain is beyond price. Liberation is a death. It is the death of the false self, the death of the obedient version of you, the death of the one who played small to keep the peace. And after the death comes a birth, raw, trembling, untamed. Most people run from this death. They sense it on the horizon and turn back to familiar prisons. They choose the job that kills their spirit but pays the bills. They stay in the relationship that shrinks them because loneliness terrifies them more than emptiness. They silence their art, their voice, their wildness because the risk feels too sharp. But a few go all the way. They walk into the fire. They let it burn. And on the other side, they rise with ash in their hair and a light in their eyes that no one can put out. Liberation is not a one-time event. It is a practice. Every day, you loosen a chain. Every day, you confront a lie. Every day, you choose truth over comfort, depth over surface, soul over image. It starts in small ways. You say no when you mean no. You say yes when your heart leaps. You walk away when something dies inside you. You stay when something calls you deeper. You choose not what is easy, but what is real. Imagine a life where you no longer need to perform, where your joy is not measured by likes or applause, where your sorrow does not need to be hidden, where your love does not need to be earned. That life is possible, but only if you are willing to break the rules you were taught. Liberation is messy. It breaks the mold. It terrifies those who want you tame, but it calls forth those who have been waiting to see you in your fullness. Your freedom gives others permission to rise. And here's the twist that cuts deepest. The cage was never locked. The door was always open. The prison guard was always you. The key was always in your hand. Freedom is not given, it is claimed. You claim it when you stop waiting. You claim it when you stop blaming. You claim it when you stop asking for the world's permission to be who you are. The liberated person is not fearless. They have simply learned to act alongside their fear. They do not have perfect confidence. They have decided that their soul's voice matters more than their doubts. They have scars, but they wear them as medals, not wounds. Liberation is the art of remembering. Remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Remembering the dreams you buried. Remembering the wildness you suppressed. Remembering the power you handed away. And the most beautiful paradox of all, when you free yourself, you free everyone around you. You break the spell. You remind them of what they had forgotten. You light the match that shows the cracks in their own cages. The conclusion is undeniable. Freedom is not out there. It is here, waiting inside you, the moment you decide to rise. There comes a moment when the old self begins to crack. At first, it is subtle, a quiet restlessness, a sense that something no longer fits. You go through the motions, but your skin feels too tight, your role's too heavy, your smile too forced. You wonder if this is all there is. And beneath that wondering, something ancient begins to stir. The birth of a new self is not graceful. It is violent, raw, terrifying. It is a death disguised as rebirth. It is the sound of old beliefs shattering, of false identities crumbling, of borrowed dreams falling away like ash. A man wakes up one morning and realizes he no longer wants the life he spent decades building. He stares at the career, the house, the reputation, and feels nothing but emptiness. The world calls it a crisis. The soul calls it an awakening. A woman looks in the mirror and no longer sees herself in the face staring back. She has been a daughter, a mother, a wife, a caretaker. She has poured herself into roles until there was nothing left to pour. And now, standing in the ruins of who she was, she feels the first flicker of who she might become. This moment is brutal. It demands sacrifice. You must let the old self die. You must stand at the edge of all you have known and leap into the unknown. You must burn the script you were given and learn to speak in your own voice. But here is the truth no one tells you. You will not be reborn as a polished, perfect version of yourself. You will rise raw, trembling, unfinished. You will stumble. You will ache. You will lose people who only loved the mask. You will walk alone before you find those who can meet you in your fullness. The birth of the new self begins in the body. You feel the ache before you understand it. You feel the pull to places, to people, to passions that make no sense to the mind but set the soul on fire. You begin to crave silence, depth, truth. You find yourself weeping for no reason, laughing inappropriately, dreaming wildly. You are not breaking down. You are breaking open. The old self will fight for survival. It will seduce you with comfort. with familiarity, with the safety of the known. It will whisper, stay small, stay safe, stay the same. But the new self is relentless. It will pull you toward the edge. It will not let you sleep through your own becoming. Imagine a man who stops pretending. He lets his heart break. He lets his dreams change. He lets himself want more. And in that surrender, he touches a power no amount of achievement ever gave him. Imagine a woman who stops apologizing. She takes up space. She speaks her truth. She chooses herself, not as an act of rebellion, but as an act of remembrance. She becomes dangerous in the most beautiful way, dangerous to the forces that wanted her silent, small, obedient. The birth of the new self is a return. You do not become someone else. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You remember the wildness, the wonder, the fire. You remember the voice that was yours alone. But make no mistake, this birth costs everything. It costs the approval of those invested in your old identity. It costs the comfort of certainty. It costs the illusion of control. It costs the false peace of fitting in. But in exchange, it gives you back your life. This path is not linear. You will take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You will doubt, falter, collapse. You will grieve what you leave behind. You will rage at the unfairness of losing what no longer feeds you. You will long for what you have outgrown. But if you stay the course, you will emerge unrecognizable, radiant, free. The paradox is this: to live fully, you must die many times. Not a physical death, but the death of old selves, old stories, old skins. Each time you shed what no longer fits, you make room for what is waiting to be born. The world fears this process. It fears change, wildness, authenticity. It will call you selfish, crazy, reckless. But beneath the noise, there will be whispers of recognition, of longing, of admiration from those still trapped in their own skins. Your transformation will be their mirror, their invitation, their challenge. The new self is not an arrival, it is a practice. It is the daily choice to stay true, to stay open, to stay awake. It is the discipline of honesty, the courage of vulnerability, the devotion to your own soul. Imagine a world where people are allowed to outgrow their roles, where men are allowed to be soft, where women are allowed to be fierce, where success is measured not by wealth or fame, but by aliveness, by integrity, by the ability to love and be loved. This world begins with you. The conclusion is not a closing, but an opening. The one who survives the death of the old self, who walks through fire and emerges scarred but shining, no longer fears life. They no longer chase meaning. They embody it. They become it. They carry the medicine of their own becoming. And in the quiet moments, they look in the mirror, see the glint in their eyes, the softness in their face, the strength in their bones, and they whisper, not as a question, but as a truth, I am here, I am new, I am free. We're sure you've discovered plenty of value, so subscribe now and stay connected.